Welcome back to the History of Rock podcast. His name is Brandon. He's the DJ.
His name is Shim. He's the rock star. Class is in session. And today we are kicking off things with some Mudhoney. We have covered kind of the seminal grunge bands in regards to the ones that had the major commercial success, you know, Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and Soundgarden. But Mudhoney, even though we were calling Green River in the last episodes, Green River as the first true grunge band, Mudhoney's really the first true grunge band, if not the only grunge band. And that's, in fact, what I'm going to be titling.
Why do you say that? When you say the true grunge band versus the only, where does that come from? You mean only? Because I think that, well, you'll see it here when we get to the stuff in the episode, is that grunge wasn't, and this is more as we're learning as we go along here, that grunge wasn't necessarily a specific sound. It wasn't even necessarily a specific look, because the packaged flannel look was something that I think record labels ended up doing after the fact, to be like, oh, hey, we want to kind of put you into this mold. And you would know about stuff like that. You know, labels do stuff like that. I always wonder what it would have been like if you were a grunge band when they were popping, because I remember the main thing with the Puppies, it was, well, like, where's the jacket? Where's the wallet chain? Like, there were things that you had to have.
The late 90s, early 2000s, mid 2000s sort of. God forbid a stylist for a record label came in and said, I'm sorry, someone needs a bandana hanging out of something. Oh my God. Or if it's during Aerosmith's big heyday, and it's like, hey, we need you to throw like 10 bandanas on your mic.
I just think it would have been funny if you were a grunge band and you just wore jeans and t-shirts and you were like, man, this is our music, and someone came into the rehearsal room and said, yo, someone get this man a flannel.
I'm pretty sure that happened. I would be willing to bet that happened a lot.
Yeah, so that would have happened for sure.
So we're covering Mudhoney the same way that we did with Green River, where we're not covering one particular album. We're covering the existence of Mudhoney, which they're still around. They still do stuff, except there's a great documentary on them. It's available on YouTube. It's called I'm Now. And it talks about how even today, and the documentary, I think, was from 2012, so about 10 years old. But even then, the guys like Mark Arm and Steve Turner, who are in the band, they have other things they need to take care of. And so they still are technically Mudhoney. It's just when Mudhoney can fit around the other pieces of their lives. Right. So before we really get into it here, a couple of things to note. I'm going to be changing how we do the playlist on Spotify. I thought the idea of, hey, we're going to have just 3 songs, it's not working out. It doesn't work out as much. Here's the problem. It doesn't work out as much unless both of us love the album. And the last 2 albums I've said, I don't like these records. That's the whole point of the podcast. But not even that. It's like there was times where we forgot about it. And the point of the playlist is so that people can listen to the music that we're talking about. And I did it sort of as a content for the podcast where we could discuss and debate the songs. And it's just not working out. So I'm opening it up more.
We talk too much shit.
And quite frankly, the main reason behind it, too, is I'm going to add all of Alice in Chains' Dirt to the playlist. Right. No, I'm not going to do that. But we're going to open it up a little bit more, especially when it comes to like Green River, Mudhoney. Limiting them to 3 songs I think is a bit much. So we're going to go back and we'll change it up. So if there is a particular song from one of the albums we've covered or one of the bands we've covered that did not get added, anybody out there listening, you're more than free to hit us up on our social medias. You can find Shim at Shim Music or at Shim on Facebook. You can find me at The Real Brandalorian, and drop us a message, and I'll throw it on the playlist. I got no problems with that. Yeah. Second item of note is merchandise is here. It's been ordered. I've already had messages from people telling me I've already started to order the merchandise, so I'm hoping that by the time this episode drops, there's still merchandise to be had. I mean, it's a good sign if it's already gobbled up and we need to order more. But if you head to vivalamocha.com, you can purchase the merchandise there. Go to the top and you're going to see The Real Brandalorian. There are 3 different t-shirts, 3 different stickers where it's The Real Brandalorian. You've got the History of Rock podcast. And then, of course, you have the Cross-Eyed Bear.
Cross-Eyed Bear is so great.
I thought about sending Charlie from Viva La Mocha, who's the phenomenal artist that's done all the designs. I thought about sending him the idea of doing a shave and a haircut.
Got to do it.
But how would we incorporate that?
We'll figure it out.
It's something I'm thinking of. So if you can, Go there, vivalamocha.com, and you can order your stuff. The real Brandalorian link is going to be right at the top of the page. But we got to get into Mudhoney here, as we're almost 5 minutes already into this episode. So I'm titling this episode, it's Mudhoney, the only true grunge band. And we're going to get to why here in a little bit. And like I said, we're going to be covering sort of their entire existence, which spans from 1988 until now. They're still around. They're a band. And it consists of Mark Arm, who is on rhythm guitar and vocals, Steve Turner, who's on lead guitar, Dan Peters on drums and percussion, and then originally it was a gentleman by the name of Matt Lukin who was on the bass. He was there from 88 to 2000, and then a guy by the name of Guy Madison took over on bass from 2001 until present. So we're going to roll right into the information here on Mudhoney, and it's a little-known factoid right out of the gate that Mark Arm's real name, not Mark Arm. It is either Mark Mclaughlin or Mclaughlin, because I've seen it pronounced both ways when it's spelt that way. And their original band, which we talked about in the Green River episode, was Mr. Epp and the Calculations. That was named after one of Arm's math teachers.
So Mr. Epp was actually, Mr. Epp was the name of the math teacher.
He was a math teacher.
It's fantastic. So no one, this is why I love when people, and that poor guy, Darius, and the only reason I remember Darius Rucker's name is because he's constantly, you have to remind that it's not Hootie. And that's like, so how many people would have actually said that the singer of Mr. Epp and the Calculations was
Mr. Epp? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, of course.
But they were kids. Way. They were kids when they started this band. And interesting side note about Hootie and the Blowfish with Darius Rucker is that when they first hit it big, I had read that he would get upset when people would call him Hootie.
Oh yeah, people still do.
But then by about the mid-2000s, when that success had tapered off, and before he reinvented and completely blew up as a country singer, he got to the point where he was like, "It's when they stop calling you Hootie because they forget who you are. That's what sucks."
yeah, 100%. So going back to Mudhoney, the first performance of the band. Oh, sorry, not we're talking about now. We're talking about Mudhoney, but we're talking about, and this is in reference to Mr. Epp and the Calculations.
Yeah,
the first performance of that band was actually a joke. Shocking, as it wasn't even really a band at the beginning. This I love. It was at school, 1978, singing Marvin Gaye's "Gotta Give It Up." They use rolled up maps as guitars because they couldn't actually play instruments. So does that mean that the first show was basically pantomime?
Yeah. This would have been very similar, I'm assuming, as any of the bands that I'd created for the video game Rock Band. You know, Moist Funk, King Dick and the Shades of Glory. They weren't actual bands because we couldn't play instruments. It was for a video game. And this was what they started as. And eventually, they kind of morphed into a real band. They played their first show. 3 years later, they were on a compilation, I'm assuming cassette tape at the time, that was called First Strike. Now, we talked about this when we were talking about Green River in the previous episode of Mr. Epp and the Calculations being, quote, the worst band in the world. So they appeared on a radio station called KZAM, and they were introduced as the worst band in the world. Now, when we talked about it in the previous episode, we had noticed that Mark Arm, the lead singer, was the guy who was quoted as, saying they were the worst band in the world. But then it also gave it to this DJ on KZAM. So what I'm assuming is he was the one that told the DJ, hey, introduce us as the worst band in the world. And so that's why they both get credit for it.
I can imagine you go, this is not the worst band in the world, no. This is the Calculations. This is not, I just can imagine. Just play it as out of tune as you can for the whole thing to live up to the worst band. I wish I'd been called the worst singer, worst band in the world at one time, and then just lived up to the notoriety and just, you'd be able to suck for the whole set.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot that you would have to live up to.
And then we can have everyone from my old high school, from Mossman High School, everyone can type in and go, we were there, Shim. You were that bad.
Mossman High School. What was your...
Get off the stage!
What was your mascot of your high school?
Oh, we didn't have fucking... This is Australia. We don't have mascots.
You guys don't have...
High schools.
Really? So it's just the name of the high school?
Yeah.
So do you have...
You know what we have?
Do you have sports
You know
teams?
what schools in Australia have? Schools in Australia have a school crest. Do you know what that is?
I would assume, I know what a crest is, so I'd assume it's like a typical crest.
Yeah, so every school has a crest and a motto. We don't have a
mascot.
Mascot. Yeah. And the funny thing is, no one gives a shit about the crest or the motto.
What was your motto at Mossman?
Excellence leads to success.
This is my point. As we're talking about being the worst band in the world and just being able to just go take a big dump on stage.
Only excellence leads to success or something like that. It literally was like, oh, we started a high school. We're about to open it tomorrow. Oh, we don't have a thing for the crest.
It's either that or somebody had just gone to gotten Chinese food, and that's what was in their fortune cookie. And it was like excellent leads to. Hey guys, I figured it out. We're right here.
Yeah. No, we don't have any of that's. We called it Adidas, not Adidas, Nike, not Nike, and we don't have mascots.
So what do you?
We don't celebrate ourselves the way that you guys celebrate yourselves.
Well, yeah, because we have low self-esteem. So do we? When you're on a high school team, it's just called the high school. It's not because
it's just Mossman High.
Because here, if you know, especially even in the pros, you would have the New England Patriots. It's not just New England.
It's kind of funny. We didn't have it when it came to. At least we didn't when. No, we didn't have it. You would be the name of your school was the name of the team. It was like if it was Mossman High's soccer team and you were going against. It was just the Mossman High team. There was no mascot. There was no name of the team. We didn't.
You could be Moss Man, like in He-Man. And just a dude
or we could go
moss.
To the next thing, which was that to promote Mr. Epp, Arm wrote a letter to. He wrote a letter to the. I love the face that you just pulled.
Because I can't wait because this is one that when I first saw this in the documentary, I got super excited because this ties everything in here.
Okay, to promote Mr. Epp, Arm wrote a letter to the editor from the point of view of someone who had seen the band and hated them. He remembered writing that they were quote-unquote pure shit and pure grunge, but adds that this isn't the first time the word grunge was used to describe music. He talks about Australian band The Scientists and the Beasts of Bourbon being described as grunge in the early 80s. My question to you is that true or did he make it up?
I don't know. I tried to do some research, but I ran out of time this weekend, so I'm going to do even more because he presents it as, because this next fact here is, so a gentleman, Tex Perkins, who was the vocalist. You know Tex Perkins?
I've met him. I don't know him personally. I know of him in a big way, but most people in America would have never heard of Tex Perkins. He's like Australian punk rock grunge royalty.
Yeah, and
royalty. Yeah.
So he's the vocalist of the Beasts of Bourbon, and he was once called the High Priest of Grunge.
Yeah.
The guy that said that apparently said it to him and then got punched in the face by Tex Perkins.
That's exactly what the High Priest of Grunge would do. To expect anything less is just insulting.
So that's why I think there is some truth to that story of these early 80s Australian punk bands being described as grunge, because we then have this backup story of Tex Perkins being called the High Priest of Grunge.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Most people don't realize that half of all rock music actually came out of Australia. Like all genres, like people think about like heavy rock or whatever. AC/DC was doing AC/DC in the 70s, right? Like they were doing it in Australia around the time that but they went to the UK and started to blow up and do big things, but they were around for 10 years before people really heard of them. So they were doing all of that sound. And Tex Perkins and the Beasts of Bourbon is the sound of grunge, but you don't call it grunge. You just call it it's what we, you know what the truth is? I just put this together. We called it pub rock, okay? Because AC/DC was kind of like pub rock, but then they evolved and they went on to, and then it just became AC/DC. And in the 80s, in the mid 80s, that was kind of like pub. It was grimy, grungy, sweaty, throwing beer around, it was just messy, grungy rock. It was like punk, but it wasn't as focused as punk, because punk was very anti-establishment. It was like, we're making a choice to not be part of the establishment. In Australia, Beasts of Bourbon and that sort of like grungy pub rock was more like a bit of working class, a bit of the everyman. You can be a little bit punk and whatever, but we don't give a shit about what your thing is. We just want to drink beer and get fucking stoned and fucking break shit and go fucking crazy. And like that was Tex Perkins, the quintessential Aussie pub fucking don't fucking say anything about anything, just have a fucking drink and shut up.
And I think before anybody starts Googling B Suburban, it's Beasts of Bourbon. I figured I had to slow that down because when I heard it in the documentary, even then I was kind of like, what did they say? But it's the Beasts of Bourbon. So here's my question for you. And I'm wondering if you could you do the intro to Thunderstruck right now? Would you be able to do that? And then sing a song about Tex Perkins punching a guy in the face?
I'm not going to sing at the same time?
Yeah. Fuck
yeah! Fuck yeah! Fuck yeah! Don't call me nothing, you fucking prick! Fuck yeah! Punch you in the face with my fucking dick! Fuck yeah! Sorry. That's about as
Hey, you hit the intro. You hit the intro, and that's really all I wanted right there.
Dude,
if we could somehow do like a remix of that for an intro to the History of Rock podcast, that would be amazing.
We should actually. See? You could reverse it and do it. So anyway, going back to my one, we're gonna have to mute that for the social media posts if we decide to. I'll punch you in the face with my dick. There was a short-lived joke punk band, The Arm, and that's a typo. There was a short-lived joke punk band that Arm and Turner were in before starting Green River, and it was called the Limp Richards. There's no chance that Limp Bizkit took a thing off that, right?
No, I don't think so.
Good. Okay, cool.
Not as I know, and it's. I threw this fact in there because it's the past few episodes. It's been all about just these random ass band names, from Mr. F and the Calculations to the Limp Richards.
This is going back to the thing that we said before about. And one of the things that Dave Grohl has gone on record as saying, usually all bands have these periods when they make stupid mistakes and they do stupid shit and they break up and they have lineup changes. And Dave Grohl went on the record as saying that was one of the things that he regrets, that the Foo Fighters never got a chance to do that because they had to do it all in the public eye. They did it. They had lineup changes and they had mistakes that they made, but it was all done at the top level from the beginning because he was coming out of Nirvana. But this is half of what it's called the history of rock. This is what it's about, learning about all this stupid. And there's no times when grunge bands especially are making these amazingly well-educated, planned decisions.
No.
It's all fucking messy.
No. So as we had talked about in the previous episode, so Green River essentially takes up the years of 1984 to 1988 for Mark Arm, with Mudhoney starting right after the breakup of Green River. Now, Mudhoney, they named themselves after the Russ Meyer film Mudhoney. Now, in the documentary that I watched, the band acknowledges they don't remember a whole lot of the movie. They just remember that there's like a preacher and some boobs, and that was it. Because Russ Meyer, B-movie, director, very cheesy, very corny. The acting certainly not top notch because they weren't able to afford decent actors. But they took the name from. I think it was because Mark Arm had mentioned that he'd seen the movie and he remembered the name specifically. Ooh, if I get another band, Mudhoney would be a cool band name. And it just ended up being that was the one that stuck. That's the band that's lasted now for, almost 40 years.
Hmm. Yeah, and Mudhoney did make it over to Australia in terms of passing cassettes around and talking about it. They were never on the radio, but when you were getting into grunge, like Mudhoney was, if you didn't know Mudhoney, you would get the shit kicked. You weren't cool. You get the shit kicked out of you. You get a Steve Perkins punch to the face.
There you go.
Actually, we should just talk that from now on. That's going to be the internal reference. We're just going to say he copped a Steve Perkins, not a Will Smith, because he has a closed fist. Tex Perkins. Sorry, what did I say?
You said Steve Perkins because you're looking at Steve Turner on the sheet. Steve
Turner. That's correct. Thank you very much. Steve Turner was called the Eric Clapton of grunge in Rolling Stone magazine, while Jake Endino, producer, what? Jake, what did I'm sorry, but I'm trying to. Here's the problem. Just full disclosure, I don't read these ahead of time so that we can discuss them candidly. So I'm trying to think of things to say while I'm. Anyway, Jack Turner, Steve Turner, and fucking Brandon Coates, producer of all the major grunge acts. He said that he remembers only having one comment when he first recorded with Mudhoney, and it was, "Are you sure you want the guitars to be this dirty?" thank God that you added that in. That is a classic quote for a fucking Mudhoney sounding band.
Yeah, that's the only quote that he said that he really had for the band when he was recording with them. And again, Jack Endino's name pops up a lot here at the beginning of these episodes of the History of Rock because he was kind of the grunge producer. And when he was recording with Mudhoney, he had only been a record producer for maybe a little over a year, I think. So it was still very early on. He still has all the the 8-track tapes and everything else that was put together for it. And that's a guy that, again, that we need to reach out to. I would love to sit down and have a chat with him.
An extended History of Rock podcast for sure.
Yeah.
We need a day with him.
Yeah, we would do that one for a while. So, if you've ever ordered anything from Mudhoney, such as through the band's website, maybe you're ordering a special edition album or something like that, chances are it actually came from Mark Arm himself because he's the one that takes care of the shipping and packaging because it's what he likes to do. He says it keeps him busy. It's kind of he doesn't want somebody else doing it. He wants to make sure that it's done right. So when you'll see on the shipping label, it'll say be signed off by Mark. That is Mark Arm that's taking care of the shipping and packaging.
That is so great. That's so grunge.
Yeah,
that's so fucking grunge. I love it. Next, a great quote, apparently from Kim. Is it Tahil?
Thile.
I keep messing it up. It's been how many podcasts has he come up in now, and I still can't get it right. Kim Thile, and who Mudhoney is. They are, or he spoke on who he believes Mudhoney is. They are the people who would be watching them. That's what makes them an incredibly honest band. What does that mean exactly?
So they weren't posing as anything other than just who they were. So they would have been the person that's in their audience at their show, which makes them even more honest because they are their audience. And you'll get bands out there that they do something that or there's some sort of a persona on stage or they're maybe different. He's like, no, that's them. And I got to tell you, as I watched this documentary and I was researching Mudhoney, I gained more and more respect for Mudhoney than I ever even thought possible. Like they've vaulted up to one of my favorite acts as just how they are as people and how they were as a band because again, that's who they were and they didn't give a fuck and they had no problems being themselves. They even, speaking of which, they had a song on the With Honors soundtrack. There's a movie called With Honors. It's called Run Shithead Run. And that's because the scene is literally of a guy running across a campus. And it's on the soundtrack. Right. You can go get the soundtrack for With Honors, and the song is just called Run Shithead Run.
That's fantastic. The guys in Mudhoney are known for doing a sound check and continuing to stick around together rather than splitting their separate ways like most bands.
So question for you there is, how would it be for you and the Puppies? You can even compare it to early on to later on. When you guys would do a sound check, is it cool, sound check's done, we all go our separate ways, we'll be back here on stage together, or was it, let's hang out for a little bit?
Well, at the beginning, sound check was an opportunity to rehearse. Mm-hmm. So you'd be touring and you'd be in the van or the bus or whatever, and you wouldn't be able, that was your only time to really work out new ideas. So when we were still working out new ideas together, we would work out new ideas. But then after we weren't doing that, and as soon as relationships get tense, you don't stick around after sound check. You don't even really talk to each other at sound check because sound check, people don't realize, sound check is literally the most boring thing that you can possibly do if you're a guy in a band because you have to go there, you have to play the same songs, but you have to do it without having fun and stand there in the position that you're supposed to stand in and just play the same part over and over again. And the reason that you play the exact same part over and over again is because the sound guy is used to how you play that part. So he knows, okay, that part's supposed to sound like this. Let me tweak all these knobs and buttons and things so that it sounds right coming out of the speakers. So you got to stand there and literally just play the same fucking chorus for 5 minutes until he goes, okay, now do it on the bass. Okay, now do it on the drums. Okay, now sing some things. So you get up there and you're literally just blah, 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 and then they tell you to get off the stage. So as soon as you can, that's why bands don't show up for sound check because they're like, fuck this.
How long does a sound check generally take?
A sound check it depends on the sound guy, can take half an hour, but usually if everything's set up, bands shouldn't need to do more than play a couple songs. Go out and play a couple songs, And then the sound guy, if he's been with you for a while, if it's a new sound guy, it'll take a million years. If it's a guy that's been with you for ages, he'll go, yeah, I know how the shit sounds, I know how it's supposed to be tweaked, and he'll do it. Yeah, so it shouldn't take that long. But if you're getting along as a band, it just goes to show that like Mudhoney clearly enjoyed each other's company. If you're getting along as a band, you'll just jam. You'll just be on stage and you'll go, do we have 20 minutes? Yeah, cool, let's have a jam. If you don't like each other, you fucking leave.
Well, that's like... We're going to get to this in either this episode or the next one. We're talking about Mudhoney here, and there are parts where the band there is a split in the band at some point, but it wasn't, oh my God, they're tired of each other. They just need to get some distance. They need to go do, it was just it almost felt like a natural pause, like a sabbatical, and then they just kind of came back together. But going back to the origins of the band, January 1st, 1988, that's considered the band's birthday. And their first album was called Super Fuzz Big Muff, which, a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you know where that came from? Super Fuzz Big Muff.
I knew immediately as soon as I read it, I thought, what a great name for an album. Because those are the first two pedals that every guitar player gets.
Yep.
You plug your guitar pedal into a especially because that is this grunge is the sound of the Super Fuzz and the Big Muff pedal. They're, by the way, for anyone that doesn't know, they're classic common pedals. But if you didn't know what they were, it'd just be a cool sounding band.
Oh, absolutely. Title. Yeah, absolutely. Super Fuzz Big Muff is just a fantastic name. But Shim's right. It comes from the first two pedals that they had because...
Yeah. Everyone gets, dude, everyone listens to every grunge rock record and goes, I want to play guitar. They buy a Les Paul or a Strat, depending on the guitar player they like, and the next thing you buy is a fucking Big Muff. That's what you do. If you don't do that, you're an asshole.
All right, here we go. This next one here, this is kind of a pop culture reference.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Oh, you went all the way through. Mudhoney was in... Oh, okay, cool. Mudhoney was in the famous scene from Black Sheep with Chris Farley, where they're at a Rock the Vote show. Mudhoney's performing, and when they're done, they're the ones that confuse Farley's character for his brother who is running for the governor, and they push him out on stage. Then comes the amazing Kill Whitey clip. So, there's going to be more on this later in the podcast.
Yeah, since
I actually don't know that reference as well as you probably do.
Well, and
I saw the movie when I was a kid.
Oh, see, I was going to ask if you'd even seen the movie because Black Sheep, it didn't do nearly as well as Tommy Boy. There's a lot of people who thought they were just kind of rehashing some stuff, and it wasn't as good of a movie. I found it hilarious. I love Black Sheep. Of course, I think Tommy Boy is better, but there's this one scene where it's at a Rock the Vote show, and Mudhoney, they're the ones that are up on stage. They ask Chris Farley what his name is, and this is after he has spent the time backstage hanging out with the Rasta band, and he's gotten high off of their secondhand smoke, and he became best friends. And he's like, wait a minute. So I'm Whitey, or I'm the man, and I'm oppressing you. And they're all like, yeah. And he goes, oh, that's bullcrap. I'm gonna talk to some people about this. And then he goes out there and he's getting all the crowd's getting all ramped up, and he's starting to feed off of the crowd. And then he looks over to the side and he sees that band over there and he goes, kill Whitey. And then it's just crickets. Love that movie.
I got to watch it.
Yeah, it's a good movie. But at the end of these, at the end of part 2s at least, is when we get to the Today on the State. And since we're talking about the entirety of Mudhoney, not one particular album, I chose that. So we're going to be discussing more on Black Sheep coming up here at the end of part 2. But their manager, Bob Whitaker, and I'm telling you, if you guys get a chance, go to YouTube and watch the documentary. Bob Whitaker, he was a different kind of manager. So they admitted that they kept him around for entertainment because he was just a wild, crazy ass
Let me just
dude.
cut in for a sec. If you're wondering where Brandon's going when he says he was a different kind of manager, just remember that Mark Arm still posts the merch directly.
Yeah.
Doesn't
help
he's
not Bob Whitaker. I don't think he's considered their friend, but he's not actually a manager anymore, I don't think. But when they would ask him to help move some equipment or get somebody on the guest list, things that a manager would take care of for a band, he would usually tell them, no, go do it your fucking self. And then they would. But they wouldn't say anything because they were all such good friends. He was kind of considered the fifth member of the band because they truly just seemed like a group of guys that were really good friends that just happened to be in a band. And that was it. And everything kind of just went their way, the way that they wanted to. But they did say the one thing that he was really good at was always finding a place to stay. So, being in a band early on, you're in a van and you're driving around trying to find places to stay. And they
without Google Maps.
Yeah, without Google Maps or the internet at all. And they would talk about how, well, generally when you were in a band like ours, it was, this early grunge or like a punk band, you go play or you go stay at a punk house where it's this van or it's somebody else and it's this dirty ass house and it's gross and those are the places that you stay. But what Bob Whitaker...
Remind me to tell you about my first one of those after this point.
Oh, absolutely. So what Bob Whitaker would do is he had this connection where he was able to find the college chicks that were in a sorority house or, at an upper scale college. And he was able to talk his way into letting the band stay with them. And they said that was one of his biggest...
That's not a talent. That's literally go and find the sorority girls and say, would you like the band to stay at your house? That's not hard.
Well, but
you have if it's different if you say I've got 4 random guys that need a place to crash. But if you're like, hey, we're in a rock band and we're touring, college girls are like, yeah, come stay at our place. Come on, sorry.
But the way that they were presenting it is these weren't necessarily the girls that are at the show. So it's not like these are people who even know who the hell they are. They don't even know this band. They know to them it's just 5 random ass dudes. Yeah. They happen to have equipment, but that's not that. Okay, so tell me.
So for anyone who doesn't know, when you're starting out in a band, especially in a van and stuff, I don't know what you call them. They're not groupies. They're basically hardcore fans that are like, we love your music and we just want to help out. And if you need a place to crash, come and crash at our place. So we met this woman who was married to a dude. And they were very nice. They were very, very, very nice. It was deep Southern hospitality. And they said, come to our house. We know what this is like. Every band who we love, we invite them over to their house and we do pork and beans and we do your laundry and we've got a couple of bedrooms because our kids have moved out of the house.
Wait a minute.
Come and stay.
Deep Southern, like here in the States?
Yeah. This is not in Australia. It's in the States, yeah.
Okay.
So, but it was the first time that I'd ever seen Southern hospitality until we got to their house and we showed up in the morning and we were like, cool, laundry, food, great. We walk in and every single thing in the house was Elvis Presley. Everything. Every doorknob, every seat cover, every poster, every wardrobe, bed sheets, bar cups, everything. They had. I walked in and I started to freak out and I was like, I feel like I'm going to get murdered in this house. I'm going to exit to the bathroom and regroup. I went to the bathroom and there was an Elvis toilet seat cover. And that's when I knew I was in trouble.
Well, see, I figured that the story was going to be like, it was Southern hospitality. They were very nice. They were very welcoming and everything was nice up until you're having a conversation and then all of a sudden the guy drops the N-word and we're talking the N-word with like the hard R and then you realize, oh my God.
No, I've had
these
that
are
too.
Like, yeah, it's Southern hospitality until they find out you're different other than white.
Yeah. No, I've had that as well. But the thing, I just thought it was hilarious that the first time that I ever went to accept hospitality from someone, the funny thing is they were nice for the whole day. They did everything they said. They gave us food and all that good stuff. And then we left. But it was just, if it hadn't been for Elvis, it would have been fine. But Elvis was there everywhere you turned. It was always Elvis leaning into the camera, staring at you. So it was like you were fucking being watched all day.
He's constantly looking at you.
Yeah, constantly. Yeah. So anyway, that actually hurt. Mudhoney's debut album, Super Fuzz Big Muff, first made it big over in England on the indie charts, which was unheard of for an American rock band, and it stayed on the charts for over a year. That is surprising considering they wouldn't have done any touring there, and it was a really grungy sound.
And this is, well, no, they did end up going over to Europe. And because they got flown over there because their album was doing so well over there. Yeah. And this was kind of the kickoff. Where I think we mentioned this in one of the first episodes of the History of Rock, where we were talking about the beginning of grunge, and that's where people outside of Seattle first started to hear what grunge was, or the sound that I guess we would classify as grunge. and it was outside of Seattle. It was over in England, and then all of a sudden it started to gain a little bit more traction, They ended up back over here in the States, and Sonic Youth became big fans of Mudhoney, and they brought them on a West Coast tour, and they were both complete opposites. Where Sonic Youth, they were more mature. They're reading books, and the guys in Mudhoney, they would talk about how they would joke with them all the time, be like, "Hey, what book are you reading today?" Like flipping them shit for the fact that they're reading books while they're on tour. And then Mudhoney, they were legitimately just the beer drinking goofballs that would wrestle around, and I mean literally wrestling around. On that documentary, they go through a cycle of pictures and videos of them wrestling.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. The funny thing is that you don't want your rock... This is the thing that people forget. You don't want your rock stars to be anything except rock stars. That's what they showed up to be. If you go and see... Although Sonic Youth really is branded that way, but I remember the only person who I've ever heard of was Lemmy. When you find out that Lemmy literally just traveled with a suitcase full of books, he didn't even bring like a couple of changes of clothes. He would just like roll around in whatever he was doing.
Well, that's
but he would always
star.
bring books. He would always bring a suitcase full of books. That is to be the most godfather of punk, and then go, oh, you could talk about the history of anything. An educated man that is so hardcore. Like he was like a fucking guru. Anyway, sorry, we got to do Motorhead's going to be a fun one.
Well, no, so we're gonna before we wrap up here, because we'll do this one last one here because it's talking about England, but I want you to do really quick. Can you do a quick song where we're talking about traveling with books? And, I mean, you can make this one about Lemmy if you would like, where he doesn't really care about his looks. All he did was pack his books. Something like that.
Fucking... Hold on a second. Oh, it's going to be a mess.
All my fans are stupid, but I'm better than them. Cause I know how to read something and then piss on all your friends, cause I'm a punk rocker.
That was beautiful. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. All right, let's get to this final one here for you to do, and then we'll wrap up this episode.
All right. Sorry, it's weird to go between those two things. At a show in England in which Soundgarden was opening for Mudhoney, could you imagine how dope that fucking
Think about
show
that.
would have been? Soundgarden was opening for Mudhoney in a show in England. There was a point at which Mark Arm announced to the crowd, I would like to invite everyone on stage, and they did. It was called The Friendly Riot. Arm called it an out-of-control good time. However, the stage ended up collapsing. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's why they actually have it in contracts when you go to venues now, where you have to say, I will not incite things, like you won't incite violence, but it's also like you agree you will not invite people on the stage. Because if you do, you forego your guarantee because of shit like that.
See, the only time I have been at a show where a band invited people on stage, it was Volbeat, and it was for kids. They were are there any kids in the audience? And then they were inviting kids up on stage. I think it was during their final song, and it was cool. Awesome. But I mean, it makes sense that you know you'd have to protect yourself in some way of making sure that you're not going to invite everybody in the crowd up on stage and then having the stage completely collapse.
Yeah, but that's the thing. People don't really think about this, and it's not really rock and roll, but it's an interesting thing to think about. It's punk rock to say everyone get on stage and do whatever you want. When bands like Green Day, for example, brings a person on stage and says, you're going to play a song, and they have to tell the people who are putting on the show beforehand, and Green Day is in charge of getting insurance for stuff like that, because it's really taboo and full on. It's not taboo, but it's full on because people, there are these rules at these shows, and it was these sorts of bands and Woodstock and all that sort of stuff where there were no fucking rules, and people get fucked up. And yet, that's the stuff that people talk about, and those are the good times. Yeah. So the Volbeat, I wouldn't be surprised if Volbeat were like, we want to try and do things that are fun and awesome, and then they got to call their lawyer and go, what can we do? Well, we can take some kids up if we cap it to this many because we're going to make sure there's enough space. And then it looks like it's fun and it's good, but it's all very planned out.
Yeah, it's all very regimented exactly on what it is.
It ain't rock and roll. It ain't rock and roll. But I'm glad they do it.
Well, you just burst the bubble because, Dave Grohl does that, where he'll let somebody come up on stage, maybe play guitar, maybe play some drums.
Oh, no, it's still impromptu. it's still impromptu. It's still like, hey, I'm gonna pick someone. It's just that they've already planned before the show that they're gonna pick someone. They just don't know who it's gonna be and what they're gonna play.
Oh, that's fine then. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. It's not like they planted someone in the audience. It's not like a magic show.
I honestly, I would be willing to bet that there are some bands that have probably done that. So we're going to wrap up this episode here. Coming up in part 2, as we're talking about Mudhoney, we're going to get to kind of the break of Mudhoney that happens in it was right around 1990, where one of the members actually ends up in Nirvana for a little bit. And then there's a song that they wrote. It's not necessarily about Courtney Love, but let's just say Mark Arm said that, she kind of fits. That she complained about that got them booted from their label. And then, of course, like I mentioned, we're also going to cover Black Sheep.
Hey, at least they didn't wind up on a railroad track.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna wrap up this. Yeah, we're gonna wrap up this episode again. Quick reminder: if you guys want the merchandise, is available. Go to VivaLaMocha.com. Check out all their stuff. By the way, don't just click the Real Brandalorian link at the top and just go there. Check out all the stuff. They do a phenomenal job of incorporating the city of El Paso into their artwork. And Charlie, he's the one that did all the stuff that just looks phenomenal, from my logo to the history of it. The whole overlay here, the thing that's up above us, that was Charlie's work. Actually, the whole thing that's around us, that was Charlie's work. And then, of course, the cross-eyed bear, which is brilliant. And then maybe we'll work on getting a shave and a haircut T-shirt done as well. But
we could find a way to plagiarize Roger Rabbit that it's not copyright infringement per se.
Yeah, we towed that line, baby. That's good. That's punk rock. It's towing the line of copyright infringement. That's what it is now. So on that note, we're going to wrap up. You guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you guys next Monday or whenever you're listening to this on the next episode of the History of Rock. Take us out, Shim.
His name is Brandon. He's the DJ.
His name is Shim. He's the rock star. Class dismissed. All right. So I kept the recording going last time in the last episode.
And then you uploaded it?
Yeah, it's part of the episode. Because
what did I do?
You hear right when you're signing off, you hear wow, like that dude with the chainsaw or whatever. And I was like, oh shit, I gotta leave that in.
You want to hear the funniest thing? The funniest thing was I went out after the podcast because I had 2 other things to do, and I was like, dude, what? Like, I don't need to say how much worse it was going to get because it kept getting worse. I'm like, dude, they were up next to my house. So I went out, and what they were doing is they'd parked in my driveway, and they were cutting the trees on the next property that were hanging over into my driveway. So they were making a big mess in my driveway, but I hadn't seen it. So I came out and I did the usual, like, I'm the authoritative man that lives in this house and I'm just coming out. So I'm not going to be, I'm not being aggressive, but I'm going to be like, I want some answers here. And this guy walked up, and the reason this is funny is because the guy was like 25, okay? Long hair, dirty, working the trees and whatever. And
he was grunge. He's grunge.
He was grunge. He was grunge.
He listens to screaming trees.
But the funny thing is, he was screaming at me. He walked up to me. There was no earphones on, nothing. There was no, it had all stopped for a second when I came out. He walked up and he said, "Hey mate, yeah, we're just using the driveway for a minute," screaming at me. And I'm like, dude, you have been cutting trees with no earphones on since you were 20 years old, and you're fucking deaf. He was deaf. He was screaming at me in my driveway. And part of me wanted to be like, for the first second, I was like, oh, you're going to yell at me. But then I went, oh, you're deaf.
Oh, my God.
No, it's fine. We'll clean it all up. It'll be sweet. We'll clean it all up, mate. Yeah. Oh, plus we got that one over there. There was one hanging on your house. It's gone now. It's gone.
God, that story could not have gone any better. That was amazing. I'm leaving this in too, so there's that.
Yep.
Fuck it.
We'll do the after. We should do the after show or whatever.
This is the after show. People get like an extra 2 minutes here.
No, I was going to say one thing that we really should do is we need to create either something on a Discord channel or something on a social media platform that we have for the History of Rock for people to share photos of themselves when they get the merch.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they can. How about this? How about they just tag us on Instagram?
That works, but the thing is, I was going to ask. We were talking about doing. We've got an Instagram profile, right?
Yeah.
We just haven't been doing anything with it yet.
Yeah, because I don't have any time.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I had all kinds of plans for it, but
yeah, I know. Honestly, dude, I think one of the things that would be really quick and simple, I just thought of it now, is you remember that the calendar that you said you had that sucks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got like the one good thing that was about Sub Pop Records on there.
Is there ever a good one?
I have some saved. Like honestly, which rock star performed with Sting at Live Aid in London and then flew across the Atlantic to perform with Led Zeppelin in Philadelphia? Bob Geldof, Phil Collins, Mark Knopfler, or Eric Clapton?
Phil Collins.
Yeah.
I was right? Okay, cool.
I got it. I mean, I can start putting this stuff up if you want.
Listen, no, all I was going to say is when there's a good one, not a really shit one, but like just a decent one that's enough for people to go, oh, that was worth my time for a second. Just take a photo of it and post it. Just take a photo of it and post it with a hashtag of like history of rock and then the name of a couple of things, you know, we'll figure out the hashtags and so that there's something. And then the next thing we'll do is we'll ask people, because people are going to start getting their merch in a week or two. We'll say, hey, take a photo of yourself with the merch and put it up there and we'll give you a shout out or whatever. Just some good stuff.
Works for me.
Yeah, just something to, because I know your time is very limited. And I think that'll be a good way to.
Yeah, do something that's engaging but not time consuming.
Exactly. It's hard. I know time's a tough one.
But that's one of the difficulties of doing shit like this is that trying to find something that works that will people be engaged with can fucking take time.
Yes,
but we have the accounts. If I remember correctly, I believe I opened a Twitter and a Instagram. I think.
Right.
But yeah, I'll start snapping the pictures of that because I have. I got like 7 of them right here. We could do like one every other day or something like that.
Yeah. We need to later in the week when we get a chance to just get on a normal call, we should talk about a few of those things. And then also the last thing I was going to say is TikTok, we should be doing some of the promos.
I put them on my
personal. My brain is gone. Getting up at 5 is tough. Yeah. Like, by the way, I feel bad because at the start of the podcast, I'm yawning and no one knows it's because I'm like trying to wake myself up.
Well, if I was there, I'd smack the shit out of you.
I know. I'd give you a Tex Perkins.
Tex Perkins in, mate. This one's right.
That's a good one. We should have a Tex Perkins shirt. Just a guy holding a big dick like a baseball bat, ready to swing it.
I don't want a T-shirt with a guy's dick on it.
Yeah, man. History of rock. Grunge all the way.
He didn't hit him with his dick. He just punched the guy in the face.
You don't know he didn't use his dick. You don't know. You weren't there.
Fine. Whatever. We'll talk about this
Australian.
more.
You don't know what you're talking about. Adidas.
That's true. Nike. Christ. All right. Yeah. Later this week, we got to catch up. Let's do it. Let's put a planning session at some point on the books.
Yes. And there's some other stuff to do with like OG Life and Investor Share, things that we can tie together. It'll be good. Let's make time and actually do that.
All right.
I got to bounce, but I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Love you, bud.
All right. Love you, man.
Bye.